He said he was nothing but a winner. The words of Coach Paul Bear Bryant are just as strong today as his Bama teams of the 1970s. That's when the Alabama Crimson Tide dominated college football, 103 wins in 120 games. At the end of 1979, the Crimson Tide was gunning for a second consecutive national championship, its third of the decade. Beating arch-rival Auburn would put Bama in the national championship game. A loss meant the Tide's season and glorious decade were over. It was an Iron Bowl we remember as a Crimson Classic. Welcome to Crimson Classics. I'm Gary Harris. Here at the Bryant Museum, it feels as if we're standing in the footsteps of giants, especially if you remember those Bama teams from the 70s. Today's focus is the '79 Iron Bowl. But before we look at that game, here's a look back at the Tide's decade of dominance. The 1970s were quite a ride for the Crimson Tide. Bama won 3 national championships, played for 2 more, and was downright cheated out of a 4th. The Tide's decade of dominance didn't really start that way. A bruising 1970 season prompted Coach Bryant to make a gutsy move, a decision that would be the key to Bama's success for many, many years to come.
Coach Bryant had made his mind up that we couldn't win throwing the ball with our personnel, that we had to go to the wishbone. And I think he took this approach so that it would be as secretive about it as possible. He told the staff, I believe around the 27th, 28th of July, that we were going to open the season against Southern Cal in the Coliseum in the wishbone offense. And we were going to close the season in Legion Field against Auburn in the wishbone offense. We wouldn't get 2 or 3 games into the season and decide we couldn't make it work. His words were, we were going to sink or swim with the wishbone.
In the wishbone offense, Coach Bryant found Alabama's ticket to national glory.
I think in the 70s, we were the first team in the history of the NCAA to win 100 games. We won 103 games in 10 years. It was a time in the history at Alabama where when Alabama played, everybody on that team, everybody at this university, everybody in the state of Alabama, and I think everybody in the country expected Alabama to win, even the team we were playing.
You know, the mindset is always to win the national championship, and if you're striving to win the national championship, you're going to have a chance to do that. The other things will take care of themselves.
When you were recruited by Coach Bryant to come to the University of Alabama, Coach Bryant would very clearly tell you that don't come here unless you want to play to win a national championship.
I think there's something about putting on that jersey that when I got there, they said, hey, you know who wore number 19, freshman? I'm like, yeah, you know, I knew Murray's name, but I didn't know who he was as a player. Well, he said, Coach Officer, well, let me tell you a little bit about number 19, Murray Legg, and what he did. And as he shared that with me, he said, now what you need to remember is you want to be able to raise your level of play to what this man did that wore this jersey before you. And he said, son, you need to think about that every time you put that jersey on. I felt like I had big shoes to fill.
At the start of the '79 season, the players made a pact.
And we all, as a group of guys, decided that the next year we were going to go 12-0 and be national champions. And we set out on that journey, and were fortunate enough to you know, end your career 12-0. And I mean, what more can a young man from Dothan, Alabama ask for and be thankful for?
I think the demeanor of the '79 team was a little different. It was very serious and workmanlike because, again, because of our senior relationship. We'd played together. Many of us had been redshirted, and we're fifth-year seniors, and so we'd been together a long time. And of course, having won the national championship in '78, our goal that year of '79 was to win the national championship again.
Well, I'm coming in as a freshman for the first time in my life, Coach Bryant. You know, just what I remember probably most, Coach Bryant would come in every day and talk about winning the national championship, and I'm like, man, I can't even dream that big. Coach, I'm just trying to be on the bus when they pull out of the park. You know, I want to be able to call home and say, hey, Mom, I'm dressing out, so to speak. You know, I'm trying to make the team.
Standing between Bama and the goal line, arch rival Auburn. A win would put the Crimson Tide in line for another championship. A loss would end Bama's season and their decade-long reign atop college football.
All 4 years I played at Alabama, we were in the hunt for the national championship, so it was important that we win the game. You know, if you lost the Auburn game, it'd make it awful difficult, you know, to have a chance to play in the for the championship.
Auburn game, though, in '79, the preparation was extremely difficult because they were running the option, and there are a lot of things that can happen with a team that's got the backs such as Brooks and Cribbs, and they had very good offensive line. They had very good skilled people on the outside flanks, and we knew it would be a fisticuff.
Most Auburn teams of the 1970s were not much of a threat for Bama, but the '79 Tigers were different. Auburn was 8-2 for a change, their best team in years.
It's a tremendous rivalry. When you live here in Alabama, I mean, that's the game. I mean, I know people talk about the Tennessee-Alabama, but in my mind, there's no greater rivalry than the Alabama-Auburn game.
To know that it was going to be a war and it was going to be bragging rights for a whole year. I mean, the game just didn't end when the game got over. It was a game that lasted for completely 365 days. So, I mean, I found out the importance of it real soon, and I'm glad that we come out on the winning end on it.
Auburn, that's state pride. I took it personal because Auburn told me I was too small. When they were in the recruitment, they told me I wasn't big enough to play there. I was too slow. So I just tried to remind them of something every year when we played them.
You know, the Auburn game was big, and it was a thrill. It's kind of like playing against your brother. As a matter of fact, one of the guys that was a punter for Auburn was in my wedding, Skip Johnson. We were good friends, but you know, you want to beat your brother more than you want to beat anybody else.
Well, of course, Auburn week is probably even more special to the players because this is where we're going to live, settle down, reside, and meet with these guys the rest of our lives. And Auburn always seemed to play well against Alabama.
More from the '79 Iron Bowl when Crimson Classics continues. Picture this, a crisp, sunny December day. Some 78,000 of your closest friends, half of them pulling for the orange and blue, half of them pulling for the crimson and white. It was all or nothing. No Iron Bowl meant they'd have no shot at the national championship.
Took them one game at a time. Coach Bryant made sure that we just didn't overlook anybody. One game at a time, getting prepared for that and playing hard on every play.
As always, Coach Bryant kept the team on task.
Coach Bryant was able to make you so focused in on the task at hand until a lot of times you didn't get caught up in what was going on the outside. He just had a great way of making you just focused on, hey, this is the task at hand, guys. You can let your fans and your mamas and papas enjoy all of the fanfare. We got a job to do. Let's go get it done.
You want to win the national championship, and that was just one game on the way.
We had a way of thinking. We had We were very, very good defensively with Ken Donahue, Brother Oliver, Jeff Rousey, these guys that coached the defensive side of the ball. And we were very good in the kicking game that Coach Rutledge handled for so many years. But we had an offense that in most cases we kept the ball 65, 70% of the time in the games.
Staying humble is tough when you have such lofty goals.
National championship talk was really, that's the reason you came to Alabama during those days. And you know, I've told people our goal every year was not to have a winning season, and our goal was not to beat Auburn, although we did that 9 years in a row. You know, our goal was to win the national championship, to be best team in the country. And that year, things had really fallen into place. We were undefeated going into the Auburn game. We were #1 in the country, and after the Auburn game, we ended up #2 going into the bowl season. But we had a chance. We knew, having won the national championship in '78, that we had what it took to be a national championship team, and we thought about that, you know, every Saturday when we took the field.
It's time for kickoff. The Iron Bowl 79 is underway. In the opening minutes, it's all defense as the teams change possession. First down for Alabama from its own 34. Stedman Shealy runs the option keeper for a gain of 3. On 2nd and 7, Stedman pitches to Major Ogilvie, and the former Mountain Brook High School star hits the left side for a 19-yard gain down to the Auburn 44-yard line. Now it's bruising fullback Steve Whitman, slicing off tackle for a 9-yard gain. Here's what it looked like from the Auburn side, coming straight at you. A quick hitter by Major Ogilvie gets the first down for Alabama. Now it's Major again for a tough yard on the toss play. On 2nd and 9, Stedman is ready to throw, but the pocket breaks down, and the senior from Dothan stretches for 9 yards, but he's hit hard by the Auburn defense.
You have to have a quarterback that's pretty cold-blooded. He doesn't mind getting hit, and he's got the nerves of a burglar, so to speak. He can sit in there and make those decisions, come down the line of scrimmage. But if you got a guy that can do it, you can move the football and you can score points.
Gutsy number 10 hustles for a Bama first down. Now it's back to the option as Shealy pitches to Ogilvie for 13 yards. Major goes airborne to pick up the first down at the Tiger 10.
Major was a guy also, one of those tough guys. Major didn't, you know, by today's standards would not be a breakaway tailback classic, but he was a guy that you could count on to get 4 or 5 yards and to give us all.
This time Stedman decides to keep it himself, and he gains 4 down to the Auburn 6. With Alabama knocking on the Tigers' goal line, Bama stumbles as Billy Jackson drops a football, then recovers it for a loss of 10 yards. On 3rd down from the 16, Ogilvie takes the Utah pass for 4 yards.
You know, a lot of folks tried to play us a lot of different ways as far as the wishbone goes, and I guess primarily my function was running it inside and running it close down the goal line, but it just whatever it took for us to be successful, that's primarily what I was interested in.
Alabama tries for 3, but the usually accurate Alan McElroy misfires, and we're still scoreless after an 11-play Crimson Tide drive. The Tigers launch a drive at their 20. Back-to-back carries by James Brooks gives Auburn a 3rd and 2 from the 28. Joe Cribbs is hit, but hangs on for the Auburn first down. 2 short runs make it 3rd and 6 for Auburn when Trotman connects with Bird to move the chains. Auburn's Joe Cribbs gets loose for 35 yards. Then the Tigers get 15 more after a Bama penalty. The stout Bama defense turns up the heat, though, and the Tigers have to settle for a field goal. Auburn's kick from 47 yards is good, putting the Tigers on the scoreboard first. Following the kickoff, the Tide starts from its own 20 with backup quarterback Don Jacobs now in the game. Ogilvy takes the sweep around the left side for 5. Then it's Jacobs finding Keith Pugh for a 16-yard gain on the final play of the first quarter. Second quarter action when Crimson Classics returns. Going into the second quarter, Auburn leads Bama 3-0, but beware of the wishbone. It's the second quarter now. Alabama's ball. Jacobs sneaks for 2 yards to the Tide 43. Jacobs again, and the Scottsboro native is stopped at Auburn's 49, but it's enough for an Alabama first down.
This is Don Jacobs here running quarterback. Coach Bryant was just a master of playing a lot of people, and Don was kind of a wiry player and hurt his knee right there on that play. So Stedman came back in. And
1st and 10 at the Auburn 49. Ogilvy on the carry gains 4. 2nd and 6. Mitch Ferguson squeezes out 3 yards to the Auburn 42. On 3rd and 2, Stedman Shealy's back in, and the senior keeps the ball for 2 more. On 4th and 1, Alabama goes for it. Mark Nix completes the first down at the Tiger 35. On 1st and 10, Alabama tries some trickery, but Nix's attempted pass to Bart Kraut is incomplete. Bama goes back to the run. Shealy pitches to Joe Jones, who plows through the Tigers' defense. He's down at the Auburn 27. On 3rd down, Bama goes to the air. Shealy finds Keith Pugh for 28 yards. Touchdown, Alabama. What a drive. 11 plays, 80 yards. The Tide takes the lead.
I always tell people that you could tell when we were going to throw a pass because I'd do a cartwheel coming out of the huddle. It wasn't very often we would throw, so I was get excited when they called a pass play.
Alan McElroy provides the point after, and Alabama has its first lead over Auburn 7-3. Alabama kicking off now, and an unusual decision here. Joe Cribbs, with no one around, decides to make a fair catch at the Auburn 16-yard line. First down for Auburn. Brooks sweeps around the left side. Gary De Niro makes the stop for Alabama.
The thing I loved about our defense is you can every time they see the ball, you're always going to see a 6, 7, 8 white jerseys around the football.
Brooks now tries the right side and finds good yardage, a gain of 10 before he's stopped by Don McNeil and Jim Bob Harris. Auburn's on the move. Cribbs goes for 5. Then Brooks for 4 more, and a Tide penalty moves the chains for the Tigers. Auburn is on the move. Cribbs rips off 9 more yards. The usually sure-handed Charlie Trotman fumbles the football. He recovers, but still it's a 5-yard loss for Auburn. Bama's D does it again. On 4th down, Portella's 52-yard field goal attempt is no good. Alabama's football. Alabama gets it back at the 35. Joe Jones on the carry for 3 yards around the right side. On second down, Shealy escapes for a gain of 10 and an Alabama first down. Shealy goes back to the air and finds Mr. Clutch again, Keith Pugh, for 13 yards and another Bama first down. After a short gain by Shealy, Ogilvie carries to the Auburn 30. A penalty gives the Tide 15 more and a first down. So at the Auburn 15, Stedman Shealy stretches for 4 more yards. On second down, it's fullback Steve Whitman. Plowing to the Auburn 5, Whitman had a great day, finishing with 109 yards rushing.
Well, there's no doubt that we were a running team. And we wanted to run the ball. We wanted to establish our run, establish the veer with the fullback. And if they're going to let us have inside, we'll take it. We'll take outside if that's what you're going to give us. But eventually, there's teams are going to roll up, and I think we were probably underestimated as far as our ability to throw the ball.
First and goal, it's Ogilvie up the gut for 3 yards. Bama calls timeout with 3:21 to go in the half. On second and goal, it's Ogilvie again, this time for a yard. Quarterback Stedman Shealy studies his options, then sneaks into the end zone for the touchdown. Shealy's fake to Whitman is perfect, and what a block by Joe Jones, allowing his quarterback to score. McElroy's kick is good, and Alabama leads Auburn 14-3 with 2:42 left in the first half.
They had interviewed Coach Bryant at halftime, and of course we didn't see it after the game was over, but you know, the reporter from ABC came up and said, "Coach, you know, man, your offense is doing so good. They're just controlling the line of scrimmage, and your offensive line is just knocking these big holes in." And as Coach Bryant was walking in the halftime, he said, hell, they ought to. They're all seniors, and I coach them.
More from the 79 Iron Bowl when Crimson Classics continues. Bama 14, Auburn 3, with 30 minutes left in the 79 Iron Bowl. Bama gets the ball to start the second half. Don McNeil should have told the guys in the locker room, fumbles are contagious. On Alabama's first play of the second half from its own 17, Shealy keeps on the option for 3, but loses the football. Auburn recovers at the Alabama 21. The Tigers are in business. With their backs to the wall, the Bama defense bristles. Brooks loses 1 on the tackle by E.J. Jr. On second down, Trotman attempts to throw, but the Louisiana hitman Tommy Wilcox nails him. The ball comes loose, but Auburn does recover after a 1-yard loss. Brooks takes the toss for 5, but the Tigers pile on, and the penalty takes them out of field goal range. Auburn is forced to punt. On first down, a quick hitter nets 3 yards for Ogilvie and the Tide. Major gets it again, but loses his grip. Auburn recovers the football at the Bama 28. Auburn's football. Cribbs carries forward for 3 yards, but Byron Braggs is there for the tackle. Cribbs now for 3 yards again before David Hanna and Thomas Boyd track him down for the tackle. On third down, Trotman wants to air it out, but Bama's all-conference safety Jim Bob Harris knocks it down. So the Tide's defense does its job again, and Auburn has to settle for the field goal instead. After the kickoff, it's Bama from its 19. Shealy hands to Whitman. Uh-oh, another fumble, but this time, luckily, it's recovered by Bama. Whitman again, and the fullback from Birmingham digs in for 5. On 3rd and 2 from the 27, Shealy keeps himself, but gets stopped short of the first down. A short punt by Alabama gives Auburn good field position at its own 42-yard line. Auburn wants to throw, but Trotman gets blindsided by Nashville native E.J. Jr. And on 2nd down, Cribbs finds the going just as tough against the Alabama defense. The Tigers go to throw on 3rd and long, but once again it's the All-American E.J. Jr. for the drive-stopping sack. The Tide starts from its own 28. Whitman takes the handoff for 3. This time, Shealy pulls the ball back out of Whitman's belly and keeps himself for 27 big yards around the right side. Alabama's beginning to build momentum now. Billy Jackson for 3 yards over right tackle. Steve Whitman now finds a huge hole. And watch the big fullback. Cuts it back inside and gains 17 yards for another Bama first down. Here again, a look at that outstanding play from the Auburn perspective. Shealy connects with Pugh for 12 more as the Tide's offense is rolling. But just when it looked like Alabama was about to put the game away, disaster strikes again. The ball's on the turf. Does Billy Jackson get it or not? The officials say Auburn football. It's the Tide's 3rd lost fumble of the quarter.
Well, actually, the fumbles, when you run the wishbone, that's going to be part of it. You try to keep your fumbles and turnovers to a minimum when you're operating that close to the line of scrimmage. Well, it's a testament to our defense.
But Alabama's defense gets it right back. After a short gain on first down, Joe Cribbs takes the handoff and is belted by Thomas Boyd. E.J. Jr. pounces on the football, and the Tide is right back in business. On first down, Steve Whitman rips the Auburn defense for another gain of 8. Auburn holds on, limiting the Tide to another McElroy field goal. Bama leads by 11 late in the 3rd. After the kickoff, the Crimson Tide defense forces a quick 3 and out. Auburn is forced to punt deep in its own territory, but Alabama's fumble problems continue. The usually sure-handed Tommy Wilcox puts it on the turf, and Auburn gets another gift, this time at the Alabama 36-yard line.
Returning punts in the SEC concentration's got to be there because, these guys are booming the football, it seems like a half a mile up in the air. You got guys with 4.3 40s running down, trying to hit you in the esophagus, and you got to hold on to the football and try to make something happen with it.
Nothing doing as the Bama D stuffs Brooks on first down. Same thing on second down as Braggs deflects the Trotman pass. On 3rd and 10, Auburn is feeling the heat, but the Tigers come up with the big play. Joe Cribbs burns the Tide with his 36-yard touchdown catch. Down by 5, the Tigers go for 2, but Mike Clements intercepts the pass. Auburn kicks off to Bama's Don McNeil. McNeil with a nice return of 23 yards on the final play of the third quarter. More action from Legion Field when Crimson Classics returns. One of Coach Bryant's greatest strengths is that he always prepared his football teams for fourth quarter battle. While the Tide's opponent was wearing down, Alabama still had plenty of fight. Keeping the starters on the sideline, Coach Bryant goes with third-team quarterback Allen Gray. The Tigers smell blood and swarm the untested sophomore.
But Coach Bryant, in his wisdom, sat the first-team offense on the bench, starting the fourth quarter, put in the second unit. And, you know, we're over there thinking, oh, my gosh, we're ranked number 1. Or, you know, we're 10-0.
I think the fear is a good motivator. And so so I always wanted to work hard, wanted to stay in the game, not come out, because there was always someone right there who was ready to take your place. We played a lot of players back then, and Coach Bryant was not afraid to substitute the second or third backs or line or anyone else. So so no, it was pretty hard to get cocky. You may be confident, real confident.
Auburn now with the momentum forces a 3-and-out, and Bama has to punt the football away. Following an illegal procedure penalty, Auburn has it 1st and 15. Brooks makes a fuss, but can only manage a 3-yard gain out to the 36. On 2nd and 12, Auburn goes for it all. Trotman uncorks a 55-yard attempt to Byron Franklin, but Jim Bob Harris is there to prevent the Tiger touchdown. 3 plays later, though, Auburn does cash in. Trotman on the rollout finds Robbins for 6 yards, and Auburn has stunned the Alabama faithful, taking a 1-point lead.
In the fourth quarter, we were down and needed to make an 80-yard drive to score the touchdown to win the ball game. And because we'd been exposed to that in practice every day, you know, it was a part of our mental preparation.
On the try for 2, Trotman and Cribbs collide. Bama's tough defense blocks the Tiger quarterback out of the end zone. Sensing the upset, the Auburn special teams unit has outstanding coverage here on this play, dropping McNeil near the 20-yard line.
And then when he put us back in, we were on the 18-yard line, and we all said, "Hey, this is our drive." We've got right wide and running triple option. I missed the read, bounced the ball off the ground. That could have been a disaster and could have, you know, destroyed our whole season right there.
On 2nd and 6, Stedman shows off his fancy footwork, scrambling for 9 yards and an Alabama first down.
Stedman led our team in rushing as a quarterback his senior year, and you can see why right there. I mean, it just gave us another threat to keep the defense honest.
Shealy again, this time on a design run, and he takes the option keeper for 15 more. On first down, Shealy hands to Ogilvy for 2 tough yards. Major fighting for every inch. On 2nd down, Alabama goes to the air, and again, Shealy hooks up with Pugh, good for a first down at the Auburn 43, and a late hit out of bounds gives Alabama 15 more yards.
And as I looked back to catch the ball, the sun was setting behind Legion Field, and you can see it in the film. There's a ray of sunshine there. And when I look back, I remember losing the ball in the sun, but somehow I was able to make the catch. And then as I caught the ball and got out of bounds, there was a late hit there, which gave us 15 more yards, which helped us in that drive. But you know, as I made that catch under those circumstances, I began to think, well, you know, something good's going to happen.
From the Auburn 28, Steve Whitman, who had a terrific game, rips the Tiger defense and stiff arms his way for 20 yards down to the 8-yard line. First and goal, Alabama.
We run in the triple option. The back made a great block. It's called 37. It's my favorite play because that meant I was probably going to get to run the ball. That's probably the only time you'll ever see me celebrate. Of course, that's about all that was allowed.
With Bama up by 5, Coach Bryant decides to go for 2. A long count by Stedman, who waltzes into the end zone untouched. Coach Bryant later called this drive one of the finest he had ever seen.
But the main thing about Stedman Shealy was he was a winner. When he got in that huddle, he took control, and you had confidence in him because of his leadership ability, and you know, he was just going to find a way to win the ball game.
The Tide act stunned for a second on the kickoff, and that's all Auburn's James Brooks needed.
Brooks hits a seam and he's gone, and that would have changed the whole momentum of the game had they scored right after we scored, running the kickoff back. But Jeremiah did a heck of a job taking the proper angle and running him down.
When you look at just Coach Oliver's philosophy, the defense that Alabama played back then was intimidating. It was, you get after people. It was an attacking defense, and if you couldn't tackle, you weren't going to be playing, and you had to be a fierce tackler.
With 8 minutes remaining, Auburn's in business again, but Cribbs is held to 2 yards on first down. Brooks gains 5 off the pitch from Trotman. Fourth down now. Auburn decides a field goal won't do it any good. The Tigers decide to go for it. Trotman's pass is right on target until Don McNeil swats it away. Great play by the All-American. Alabama gets the football back with just over 6 minutes left on the clock. Bama decides to keep it on the ground. Whitman a short gain. On second down, Shealy loses 3 yards. On 3rd and 10, nothing fancy as the Tide plays it safe for 4 yards. On 4th down, Woody Humphrey is called on to punt it away, and Joe Cribbs is on the receiving end. Another nice return by Auburn puts the football in Alabama territory. First down, Trotman throws incomplete. Wilcox is there for the big stick. On second down, the Tide defense has the Tigers covered. Trotman tries to scramble, but gets tossed aside by Warren Lyles. On 3rd and 10, the rush is on for Alabama. Auburn takes advantage with the screen pass to Cribbs, who darts for 12 yards and an Auburn first down. The drive is still alive. From the Bama 37, Brooks on the sweep, but he goes nowhere. Wayne Hamilton with the tackle. On 4th and 10, Auburn is forced to go for it. And the Tide defense is once again equal to the task. Incomplete. Alabama takes over on downs. With 3:22 remaining in the football game, Alabama's offense takes charge, running 8 plays and keeping the football for all but the final 9 seconds. 2 big runs by Shealy helped the Tide burn some more clock. As the seconds count down, Trotman tries 2 Hail Marys. And as Iron Bowl 79 comes to an end, Bama wins it. The Tide 25, the Auburn Tigers 18. Mission accomplished. The Tide earns a shot at another national championship. The players give Coach Bryant credit when Crimson Classics continues. The defeat of Auburn in the 79 Iron Bowl marked Alabama's 20th consecutive victory, the nation's longest winning streak.
The 70s, was the best decade. First time that 100 games were won by a college team, and the late 70s when I was on the teams, we had good players who were dedicated, that knew how to work hard, and were committed to game plans and to this university. So that relayed into wins on the field.
For Coach Bryant, the game put him 20 wins away from the all-time record of 314 victories set by Amos Alonzo Stagg.
He got the most out of people, and that's hard to do, but he could do it. He'd get the most out of them. He did it by setting the pace himself and not making exceptions, and he set the bar high, then he lived up to it.
And true to form, Coach didn't let success go to his head.
Y'all may remember when he made the comment he was always afraid of going back to plowing. And that's probably been my theme in my law practice is I'm always, don't ever want to go back to plowing, so I'm never satisfied. And you can't ever be satisfied, no matter what you may accomplish or how well you're doing. If you ever get satisfied tomorrow, it can be gone.
Well, Coach Bryant kept us humble. He was able to do that. But they did have a great winning feeling because, like I said, it just got caught up with the players and everybody around us. And particularly for those 10 years, like you're talking about winning the Tennessee game all those many years and the Auburn game all those many years, that's pretty powerful because those were the two powers that we played. Georgia wasn't in our schedule every year, but yeah, we had a lot of pride, but we were very humble.
Besides their championship rings, these men left campus with something much more valuable. Coach Bryant taught them what to do when the going gets tough.
Yeah, we had some great athletes. Yeah, we had some guys that went to the next level. But we had a lot of guys. The majority of our teams were made up of guys that might not be those great players, but had big hearts, and we just got after folks. And that's what it was all about.
You got to have that as a part of your plan. Even in life, what are you going to do when time gets tough and you want to quit, you want to lay down, and that's part of life preparation as well as football preparation.
Mental toughness, oneness within a team or within a group. We had an off-season program that it would be hard to describe what we did, what we went through. But I've said many times we were like Marines. We were brainwashed. Everybody believed in what we were doing. They believed in the coaches. They believed in the offense, the defense. We were an extension of Coach Bryant's way of thinking.
I believe Coach Bryant was the type person that would have been successful in whatever area of life he was in because of his motivation and his ability to get the best out of people. He was very stern. He was very strong. He was, I remember the first time I ever went into his office was my sophomore year, and I went there about a position change. One of the coaches had suggested that maybe I'd move from defensive back to wide receiver. And as I sat down in that couch, the springs I think were deliberately terrible. You sank down about 2 feet and you looked up at Coach Bryant, and I said, "Well, Coach, Coach Marks has suggested maybe I move from defense to offense." And he said, "I make all the decisions around here." And I said, "Yes, sir." So we went from there, and that was it. He may not have always made the right decision, but there was never any doubt about who's going to make the decision.
The Tide's success of the 1970s remains unmatched, a generation after Coach Bryant's retirement.
I used to think he was lucky as a player starting and as a young coach. I thought he was lucky, in a lot of things, but day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year, it wasn't luck. You make it certainly, happen. And he made you believe in yourself and the togetherness, with your teammates, and certainly hard work and outwork other people. And good things will happen.
Sometimes life's tough. Sometimes football's tough. Sometimes in football, you're going to face, times where you don't think you can make it. I have a big picture of Coach Bryant in my office, just as a reminder of a lot of the things that he taught me about being a winner.
The 79 squad finished the season undefeated as SEC champions. The Tide went on to the Sugar Bowl and secured Coach Bryant's 6th national championship. For the Bryant Museum, I'm Gary Harris.